Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. I want to start with a couple of questions for you. Do you automatically seek to accommodate others without a second thought because it's the nice thing to do? Right? Are you always sort of thinking about other people and how what you're doing will impact them or where they might need help? Do you feel like you're selfish if you take time off for yourself, or if you take time off from work? Do you feel like you're kind of abandoning your team at work? If you have ever wondered, what is the line between codependent behavior and caring behavior and controlling behavior? What is the difference in those things? Then this episode is for you, my friend, because I'm going to be giving you clarity on what codependency looks like versus being caring and being controlling, talking about why this distinction itself matters, because a lot of times we justify our behavior saying, I'm just being nice, I'm just being nice. I'm also going to be sharing case studies and real-life examples of how these play out to help you raise your awareness, and providing tips on how to move from codependency to genuine, caring, and healthy giving as opposed to overgiving. So before we get into it, if you are new to this channel, hello, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, the author of Boundary Boss Workbook, and this book, Too Much, which you can pre-order right now at hfcbook.com. And this is a book all on high-functioning codependency. I think you guys are going to love it. It drops on October 15th, but please pre-order it now and get one for a friend, because the more pre-orders I have, the better it is for me as the author, because it tells the booksellers that people want to buy these books and that they should stock a lot of these books as opposed to just buying one of these books. So that is my pitch for you to pre-order. Not to mention I have a ton of amazing bonuses when you do pre-order. But before we get into it, please make sure you introduce yourself in the channel. We are a friendly group of people here, and make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell icon on YouTube so that you get notified every time I roll out something new, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday. So I want to say thank you so much for all of your questions and all of your comments. You know, I read them all. I love it. And I love to highlight them. So I want to highlight this from Catherine 30. And this is under the video, the episode Narcissistic Mother, 4 protection tips so you can be happy. And she says, thank you for your very enlightening videos. It really helps to have our reality validated by informed people like you. I always learn something from you. Thank you for what you do. Well, Catherine 30, thank you for taking the time to write that note, because it really does warm my heart and lets me know that I am not doing all of this into a void, that you guys are really out there. It's so exciting. All right, how about we move it into today's content? So maybe we just start with, what is codependency? So according to me, codependency is you being overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the relationships, the circumstances, the situation, the finances of the people in your life, to the detriment of your own internal peace, to the detriment, it could be your psychological, your emotional well-being, but really it's to the detriment of you, which means that we are overly invested or overly involved in what's happening in other people's lives. You guys who are here, I know that you guys are all, like me, big-hearted people who care about other people. And so it's hard to really wrap your head around that sometimes all the caring and all the helping doesn't just come from a pure place, that we're really doing it when you think about what codependency is really about. And this is the part of codependency that is not talked about that much, but it really is a desire to control other people's outcomes. So think about it. You don't want your friend to marry the stupid idiot. You don't want your adult child to be fired from their job. Even though maybe they're doing something to get themselves fired, you cover up for them when the boss calls. All of this, of course, is enabling and codependent behavior, but feeling overly responsible. Because that's really the piece for me personally. You know, why did I write a whole book on high-functioning codependency? Why do I teach it? Why do I have a course teaching you all about it? Obviously, same thing like my struggles with boundaries, why I wrote a boundary book. I was highly codependent in my life. And I never thought of it from the point of view of control. That really so much of what was going on is that I wanted to control the outcomes for other people, even if it's something silly, like someone telling me, oh, I'm going to be driving to go see this person. And me being like, oh, you should definitely take the parkway and not the turnpike, right? Like, why? Why always an opinion? Why always adding something? Now, in my mind, I think, and I would think to myself, I'm just being helpful. I just want to be helpful. But what I've realized in studying codependency and in coining this phrase, high-functioning codependency, is that there's way more to it than that. And saying like we're doing it to be helpful is one way of looking at it. And in my heart of hearts, when I was highly codependent with everyone in the world, it seemed, I really thought I was being helpful. But when I peeled back the layers, I realized that there was more to it than that. So let's talk about why it matters. And then I'm going to get into some case studies and share a personal story of my own realization about my own codependency. But why does it matter? People will say to me a lot online if I talk about this, well, I'm just nice. I'm just a helpful person. What's wrong with being nice? So let's make the distinction that feeling overly responsible for other people's lives, overfunctioning, overgiving, overdoing, I'm going to say that's not being nice if it's a compulsion, right? If you can't not do it, then it's a compulsion, not a choice. So being nice needs to be a choice. If you are just reacting, that is a compulsion. And if you're reacting in this way, that is codependency. So let's look at the other side of what happens when we are overgiving, overfunctioning, auto-advice giving, auto-accommodating all the time, other people and the world. We get burnt out. It's exhausting. There's only so much bandwidth that we have as human beings. And if you are giving from a place of fear, right? I'm afraid if I don't do it, I'm afraid of what's going to happen to that person. I'm afraid of what's going to happen in their life if I don't do it. But feeling legitimately responsible for other people's decisions, right? That is a compulsion. That is codependency. And it really is coming from a place of fear, not necessarily a place of love, even if we love the person that we're doing it to. So how does this impact our relationships? Well, it robs the people in our lives the ability to be sovereign. It robs the people in our lives the ability to be independent because we're in there giving our 2 cents on everything, talking about what we think they should be doing on everything, whether it's adult children, whether it's our partner, whether it's our friends. There's a lack of respect when we make assumptions that we know what people should be doing in their lives. And even if people are making the wrong move, let's say, according to you, but maybe it is the wrong move, right? Having an affair, whatever. Maybe someone is doing something that you really do know is wrong. It's still their move to make. It's still their move to make. So I really want you to wrap your brain around that because it's not our decision to make. Our mistakes are our own. I've told you guys this before, but I'll say it again, and I appreciate this. My mother always had this saying, I think it was an Irma Bombeck saying on her refrigerator, like a magnet, that said, I promise not to take credit for your accomplishments if you promise not to blame me for your failures. Right? Our accomplishments and our failures are our own. And that is true for everyone else as well. And we need to live that way, respecting other people's right to live. Hashtag let me live, right? Hashtag we need to let other people live. And when we are trying to control what they're doing or weighing in, just giving our opinion on everything, it's not necessary. I remember being with one of my sons had an ex-girlfriend, but we were out to dinner with her parents a bunch of years ago. And the kids they were living together and they had painted their house, these very rich and saturated dark colors, the inside of their house. And they loved it. And we were like, great. If they love it, why do I even care? I don't. It's your house. If you love it, I love it for you. Great. I don't need to be weighing in, being like, well, I wouldn't put that in my house. Who gives a crap? We're not talking about me. We're talking about them. But her father was like, well, they know I'm going to tell them the truth. Those dark walls look stupid. They make the place look small, blah, blah, blah. Gave his whole dumb opinion on the paint that they chose. It was such a bummer. It was such a downer. And like, why? Why? And again, the weighing in, the giving the opinion, all of these are intrusive, and many of them are codependent behaviors. But I don't know, that one just popped into my mind because I remember thinking, oh, he's one of those people who, they claim to be truth tellers, right? They're going to tell you the truth. And you're like, dude, the truth according to who? According to you? That isn't the truth with a capital T. That just happens to be your truth, and that's okay. You have a right to that too, but you also have a right to keep it to yourself if someone didn't ask you for your opinion. And this is another thing I see with high-functioning codependency, is that we feel obligated to give our opinion, even when someone isn't asking for it. I have a close friend who I'm still very close to, but I used to fight with her all the time, like 10 years ago, because I would be telling her a story about something, and she would be like, yeah, I think that's right. I agree. And I'm like, listen, I'm asking you to hold space for me. I'm not asking you to weigh in. I don't want to know if you agree. But she's like, but why? I'm validating you. I'm approving of you. I'm like, but I don't want you to approve of me. I want you to witness me. I want you to be in this foxhole of stress that I'm in right now without you trying to fix it or telling me. Like, she thought, I'm doing the right thing. I'm giving you my thumbs up. I'm like, I don't want a thumbs up. I want you to hold space for me. I mean, of course, now she's way better at holding space. But I think a lot of times, I write about this in the book, the new book, Too Much, which is basically a guide to breaking the cycle of high-functioning codependency, where we're walking around yucking all day long, feeling like we need to say, I like that, I don't like that, oh, I wouldn't do it that way, or I would do it that way, or I think that's wonderful, or those boots go great with that skirt, or I hate those shoes with that outfit, or whatever. But it's a way of feeling in control, or a way of not dealing with ourselves. Because if we are endlessly yucking about other people and life, how much bandwidth is left for us to be, for us to actually exist? So what is codependency? I've given you some ideas, but what does it look like in real practice? For clarity, it is feeling overly responsible for other people and their decisions and what happens in their lives. A lot of times, it accompanies an inability to say no, right? Having disordered boundaries, because as HFCs, high-functioning codependents, we don't even realize a lot of times. I mean, listen, I'm in recovery, but I know my nature is this, that we don't realize that we can be the biggest boundary tramplers because we're doing things for people a lot of times they're not even asking us to do, right? We're giving opinions no one even asked for. We're like, no, but I'm trying to make your life easier. I know somebody. I have a connection. Here's the thing. But what you don't realize when we're doing that is that we're centering the other person's problem on us, right? A lot of times, codependency in real life looks like going above and beyond, inserting ourselves as the solution to all the problems that are out there, right, that we see, and being like, I think I can help. I tell this story in the book, and you may have heard it, but I'll give it to you briefly, that I realized how high-functioning codependency was different than codependency, because I feel like there is an element of feeling responsible for the world, being codependent with your environment. So example of this would be, I was in my hair salon getting my hair done, and I had a mask on my hair, and I was laying in the sink, like taking up a sink while the mask was sitting. So I had 10 minutes to sit there. And the line, because it was a busy Saturday in Manhattan, the line was getting long of people needing sinks. And now instead of me just laying there meditating, listening to a podcast, doing something that a normal person would do, I'm getting really anxious because of how long the line is getting. And I finally call over the woman who was working, was washing my hair, and said, hey, I can move, if you need the sink. And she's like, yeah, lady, we're good, but thanks. Like, she didn't need me to manage the flow of their sink traffic. She had it figured out. And I was like, wow, I'm still doing this, and I've had 30 years of therapy, and I'm literally an expert on codependency. I can't possibly be the only one. This was a couple of years ago, and I posted about it, and it went viral. I think it was downloaded 129,000 times in like 28 days. It was something really like, wow. So I call that auto-accommodating, where it's like we see something in our environment and we feel compelled to fix it or to be part of the solution, to fix it. And again, being overly responsible for something that is not mine. Another example is anticipatory planning, where maybe you have a difficult person in your life and you know that you're going to see them. And so you think of all the ways that you can preemptively avoid problems with them. Maybe you make sure you have their favorite food. Maybe you make sure that they're not sitting next to someone that they don't like, right, at the dinner table or whatever. But how much time we spend when we are codependent thinking about other people and other situations and figuring out how to avoid conflict to the best of our ability and more than the best of our ability. And it's so exhausting. And the cost of that is burnout. The cost of that is the intimacy in your relationships. The cost of that is resentment. We become so resentful of other people, even if we're the ones doing it. We become resentful of them. Like it feels like people are taking advantage of us. And as I like to say, what I realized is that maybe it wasn't them taking advantage. Maybe it was me serving myself up on a silver platter and then feeling underappreciated for all of my effort, even though much of my effort was not asked for. I just spontaneously did it, and then I expected a parade for it, right? And this, we know, is not a healthy way to relate to people. So what is healthy, you may ask? Mutuality, interdependency, saying yes when you mean yes, saying no when you mean no, being aware of your own needs, making conscious decisions, right? Being mindful, slowing it down, right? Slowing down our lives, slowing down our decision-making process, giving ourselves expansion when we have a decision to make, realizing what is your side of the street and what isn't your side of the street. And I mean, obviously, I break all of this down in full in the book. Just go to hfcbook.com for highfunctioningcodependencybook.com. But this is just something that if you are identifying with this, I just want you to know that you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you, right? This is, especially if you're raised as a woman, we are raised and praised for being self-abandoning codependents. You know this. So we have to do work to undo what it is that we learned in our growing up lives and the way that we were socialized. So we want to start by making small changes. We really have to know what is my responsibility and what is something else. Learning to say to other people, I have no doubt you'll figure it out, instead of giving them our answer for their problem. Asking expansive questions. What do you think you should do? Your gut instinct is good. Nobody knows more than you do what you should do. So tell me, what do you think you should do? Put as much effort into helping that friend find their own answers than you do in giving them your answers, right? Because your answers are right for you, but they're not right for other people. And this is a big change to make in our lives. Giving yourself 24 hours to make decisions, letting people know you don't have to give people instant answers. It is not necessary for you to do that. But we don't know that. And all of these things impact our relationships, right? All of these things, the way that HFC, being a high-functioning codependent, because, and what is the distinction? One of the biggest distinctions, besides being codependent with the world, is that we're highly capable. So the more capable you are, the less codependency looks like codependency, but it still is codependency, and you're still paying the price for being codependent. So our relationships really do suffer. So if you are interested in having healthy relationships, if you are interested in creating mutuality, I want you to join me for my summit. It's so exciting. It is the Epic Relationships Summit. It is free. Join me and 30 experts for this summit where you will gain powerful insights on building stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling relationships. It is taking place October 8th through the 10th. You can sign up right now at terricole.com/summit, SUMMIT. I have my friend Dr. Shefali, Dr. Alexandra Solomon, Jillian Turecki. I've got Mark Groves. I've got so many, 30 relationship experts are going to be sharing with you. Gay Hendricks is sharing as well. Nuggets of wisdom to help you create epic relationships in your life. Because you guys, isn't this what it is all about? It is how we relate. So terricole.com/summit. Sign up right now. It is free. I am so excited to see you there. And as always, take care of you.